Excited to be in the Sweet 16, and we took a day off yesterday because the West Coast trip knocks a lot out of you. And so today I'm sure we'll have a little bit of a sluggish practice trying to get our feet back, but I think the adrenaline is going to be very high, and we're looking forward to playing another ACC basketball game. And we know how good NC State is because they beat us by 8 or 10 points at home. And not too many teams do that, and they did it. We also realize they've won 8 out of 10. Their front court's playing extremely well. Their back court's playing outstanding, and they've beaten some pretty damn good teams on their court. So we know it'll be a hard-fought game. It's not only an outstanding team we're playing, but there's a lot at stake.
Real quick about the last game you played, you said afterwards you thought it was the best game of the season.
I thought it was the best offensive and defensive execution combined. We've had some great defensive games. We've had some great offensive games. Indiana offensively in the Garden was as good as it gets. Defensively, we've played some terrific games, but this was the best, all three phases, the best focus on game plan, the best offensive and defensive execution.
And looking at the film, you never changed your mind about it?
It was better than I thought.
You've talked about this team in regards to potential. Has it, do you think, reached its potential? Is it reaching its potential?
I thought they've played up to their potential the whole year. I really have. I think that we've had a lot of roadblocks in terms of youth, in terms of little problems, in terms of things changing. But we've had a very young team that the older guys lost their patience with, and now they've developed patience, which has really helped our chemistry.
How did it, losing their patience, how did that manifest itself?
Well, you know, it's tough enough to have 2 or 3 or 4 freshmen. When you have 6, it's, you know, they don't know what they're doing. They're poor focus-wise, they're poor defensively, and it just takes time for them to learn. Like Jalen Johnson, it's taken a lot of time, but he's going to be a very good basketball player someday.
But when you say losing, the older players lack patience,
it's just constant mistakes. If you're being corrected 40 times a practice, the other guys say, "Damn, come on, can we play some ball?" You know. Yeah.
How different is that from past years?
This has been tough, the toughest one of them all. Because it's not only the mental aspects, but a lot of these guys, like Shaquan Aaron, still hasn't gained a pound. He's been here a year now, and he's still. I mean, he came in at 167. He's 180. But from December to now, we have not been able to get an ounce on him. So it's not only the mental part, it's the physical part. A lot of the guys, Jalen Johnson just got in shape about 2 weeks ago, where he's not going to tire in a practice, and you see much better things there when you see guys get into great shape.
You talked a lot about paint touches and challenge shots. It seemed like Sunday that was a lot better on both of those areas.
Lowest of the season. We were 2 for 4, and just to give you an idea, against NC State, we were 0 for 9.
Of shooting challenge shots?
Yeah.
that was really
We've been 8% on the year. Now, if you have under 5, you're playing good offense. And a lot of times, I've said this many times, our second half, what we wanted to do more than anything else is get our paint touches and get to the foul line. And a lot of times when you see a lower percentage in the 52 in the first half, you say, well, they were in a little bit of a drought. When people say they're in a drought, it's really not true if you're getting to the line. Because if you're getting to the line, and you're making your free throws, that's a positive. So that's good offense when you go to the line and you make your free throws.
The NC State game was really, as far as I can remember, the only game where you seemed really surprised and upset at the performance compared to some of the other losses. What happened?
The challenge shots bothered me, and the lack of rebounding bothered me. But more than anything else, I think, like I try to say, you got to give them credit. After watching it, they just dominated us at a lot of phases of the game.
You don't count a shot where a guy gets fouled as a challenge shot, do you?
No.
So how do you know when you're taking the shot if it's going to
Well,
be
we
challenged?
count it as a positive if he gets fouled. But we're talking about, you'll see it, leg kicking out, the guy's challenging the shot, those type things that's where you should ball fake and go by, and we were brilliant in the last game, and we just kept driving and dishing. And what that does is sets up offensive rebounds for you.
Do you think the light can run with some of the freshmen after the
No, the only thing I conveyed to them was there's a past, there's a present, and there's a future. I made 3 columns. The past is what you were. The present is what you are now, and the future is what you're going to be. And the tournament makes the future for all of us. And to let them understand that I thought they had a good season. I thought they played up to their potential. And now, if they get better, they can have a great season. And that's the only message I gave them. And, you know, the freshmen have a right to develop. I mean, Quentin was thrown into the fire, but he's responded in a great way.
I mean, he seems to be the one where the deer in the headlights really went away quick.
Yeah, but I think when you're playing, I know as a basketball player myself, if you're going in for 3 or 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes, you know you're just giving the guy a rest. So you really can't get into the flow of things because you know you're coming out. So your only function in there is to give the guy a rest. So now his function is to be a good basketball player, and he's shown what he can do.
Where does he develop most, do you think?
He's getting better defensively. He sees things very well. You know, he comes off and sees things. He's good on the break, and he's fearless.
And it was all-
Now he's got himself a hell of an assignment. He's got to try to contain Cat Barber, and you know our other guards couldn't do it. We got beat mostly on Cat Barber with our forwards getting beat.
before-
Forwards
Yeah,
getting beat.
what way?
When he'd penetrate, say the sideline, and we're in a trap situation, they got beat a lot.
And you always, one more about Snyder, you always felt like he was a good offensive player.
Yeah, you know, I think he's getting more lift on his jump shot. That's the thing we worked on most with him. Yeah, I think he's a very good basketball player. Now, he's not endowed with a great wingspan or Peyton Siva type speed, but he's also very clever, and he also understands the game. The next hurdle for us is to try and get him to verbalize a little bit more.
How much different defensively are you now than when you played NC State previously? Not just because of the changes that you made. They have addressed the issues that you saw?
Yeah, I think we realize certain things defensively. We pointed it out to them where and how we get beat. I think we're much smarter in the last month than we've been, and I think that's why we've been a better basketball team.
Can you give us an example of that, kinds of things?
I think we constantly got beat because we were in the wrong place, and I had to give up on certain things in the last. It really helped us practicing the week after the tournament. That really helped us because we weren't on the clock because we were on vacation, so there was no clock. We could really spend time teaching what we wanted to teach.
Technically, or in terms of what you are trying to do on defense, what's different?
Just everybody's understanding where their position is on the court, and they understand how much they have to talk in order to make the thing work.
But you talked about dumbing it down.
We did for the tournament when we came
That's
when we
no longer the
no.
case. Okay.
If your team has success against you, like NC State did in that game, do you expect them to use the same kind of plan against you again, or would you?
They do, but they'll make some changes. They'll see our weaknesses and they'll make some changes. And we were winning in that game, and bad shots led to our demise, as well as poor ball containment led to our demise. So it was a close game, hard-fought game, and then we took bad shots.
Over the last 12 minutes or whatever it was?
Yes, and then we allowed them to get paint touches. And they're a very good offensive rebounding team. They can kill you on the offensive glass.
What else impresses you about them?
They can score at every position. You know, Turner scores. They score at the 1 and the 2. Their 4s and 5s are big and physical. They're a deep basketball team. They're very, you know, what impresses you is the teams that they play and who they've beaten. You know, they're capable on any given night to beat anybody. If you don't play great defense, you'll have a long night against them.
How do they defend? One of the things that I've noticed looking back at the box scores for those games that you mentioned is they really do a good job defending inside the arc, inside the paint. Is it just length? Is it athleticism?
They're very physical. They're very athletic, very physical. You're not going to find a more athletic basketball team than this. They're very athletic and very fast.
You've talked a lot about the era here. Just talk about the 4 in a row, what that kind of means for this program to be 4 straight years.
Well, I think this year was a rebuilding of not necessarily players, but of culture. I think next year will be a rebuilding of everything. You know, it will be, but that doesn't mean, you know, when people hear rebuilding, they say, oh, no. rebuilding doesn't have to be over years. You know, you rebuild sometimes in weeks. And you just, and so we had to get this team to a point where they're executing well. You know, when you take sometimes 12 challenge shots, you're not going to win, you know, especially this basketball team. So it's just a matter of getting together where the moving parts are moving together as one, defensively, and offensively, getting the guys to just take high percentage shots. And they're doing their good job. You know, even though like I said, 2 weeks ago, even though we lost to Carolina, we were playing very good basketball, executing very well.
Is this one as satisfying as others, or, I mean, because you've been through so
I
many
don't, you know,
challenges?
I just look at it as another tournament that I'm super excited about. You know, the thing that pleases me the most personally is I'm probably more excited now than I've ever been in an NCAA tournament, because it gets more and more exciting every year. And there's so many, it's almost cruel sometimes, the path it takes. Like I'll give you an example. Looking on television, I thought the two best chemistries in college basketball in terms of guys being together were Villanova and Virginia. They, to me, were extremely well coached. They had guys that were just so tuned in every single night where they never let down. And then it's a cruel game. They're out of the tournament, and they seem to be the most together team I've witnessed just on television, watching their chemistry, their body language, all of that. Their execution was awesome the whole year. Both won their regular season tournaments. Villanova won both, and that can be the cruel turn that it takes, you know. And then you can say, I'm sure the same thing for Iowa State and some other teams as well. And I don't follow those teams as much, but it can be a cruel tournament, as well as it could be magical for the Georgia States of the world. Those moments, and you know, Valparaiso's in the past. That's what makes it so great.
Those two teams are both in your region, though, and they're out. Do you look at the big picture at all? The way the path is different now?
You know, the one thing I think everybody makes a mistake and said, well, this path is easy, because it's just, most of the time it's just the opposite. It becomes more difficult. You know, the one thing I've never done is prepare for a certain team to play at this point in time. You can do it early in the bracket, but you can't do it now. Who's to say that NC State is not as good, or I've seen Oklahoma and the way they shoot the ball. I've seen Michigan State many times. They're just as good as any team. So, you know, it's anybody's ball game now. It's who's going to execute the best. And, you know, all the prognosticators who've been wrong, obviously, what is it? There's only 13 brackets left, I think, is that what the number is? Anybody know? So it's very difficult. And, you know, it's now they got to feed up time, and, you know, I get the funniest comment I've ever seen. Somebody sent me a comment of Bob Huggins' comment about, and I thought it was one of the funniest things I've ever read in my life. Well, you know, what Bob doesn't understand is these guys, I've done it, you have to pick somebody. And somebody will say to you, like I was on the days with Charles and Kenny, and they're going to go with this team, and somebody said, can you go with the other way so we're not all in agreement? So, you know, it's not personal. So, you know, Bob said about Seth Davis and Doug Gottlieb, he said, I'm really going to pay attention to a guy that shot 50% from the foul line, a point guard, and the other guy played intramurals at Duke. I almost fell out of on the bus, you know, that he had the nerve to say that, but you know, it's what everybody picks. And they said something about Jay Billis that was hysterical also. So, I'm sorry?
And Obama also.
No, did he? Yeah. So, yeah, I know, because I've been in that seat. You got to pick somebody. They won't let you take the diplomatic way out and just say both teams are great. Well, who do you pick? You know, and you have to pick somebody, and right or wrong, the other people get upset. Like somebody in the locker room, I don't know what team it was swearing at President Obama or something, you know, because he picked them. I don't think President Obama meant it personally.
It was NC State's Cap Armor.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talked about being more excited this year. Is it a different feeling being, I don't know, a relative underdog than being the #1 overall seed?
Not really. I think the only time I feel stress or pressure, whichever word you want to use, I think pressure is a good thing, stress is a bad thing. The only time I'm uneasy is in the first game. I hate the first game. You know, I just never have liked the first game. I know the players' mindset a little bit. You got to change it. You got to. Once you get by the first game, it's just so much fun. I think it's just such a fun environment. We had a lot of fun in that second game.
Was there something to get them away and being out west?
I thought it was great, you know, because it's, you know, anytime you're around a lot of fans, you get distracted. You know, I know personally, I turn off my phone for almost 90% of the day now. At the end of the night, I'll text people back. I just say, just shut the phone down completely. And, you know, I just don't want to be distracted. This is so important right now because you're a game away from the Elite Eight, and then you're a game away from the Final Four, and then you're a game away from the championship game. So, you know, you just got to just really, really hone in on it. And then after your work's done, just relax.
There were a number of calls on the radio today suggesting that the key to your success was getting rid of Chris Jones. Do you think that's fair?
I really think that people should stop calling in and showing their ignorance. I think they should just listen to all of you and stop calling in, because every time they call in and say something like that, they just show their ignorance. And I really don't think they should do that, because we could have blown out Irvine with Chris Jones by 15, 20 points. So sometimes it's just, you know, instead of giving all the guys credit for great execution and great play, they try to blame someone. And I can guarantee you the person who called in is not successful at what they do. I can guarantee he has not accomplished very much in the world of sports. Now, you can call in and say, you know, I really think the guys are coming together and are executing well because Terry's taking less bad shots and this guy's doing this with intelligent things. But right away they come up with cynicism. That's why you guys have to pay attention to it, and I'm extremely happy I don't have to pay attention to it.
What all has gone into improving this team? Because obviously,
I just think the maturation of a few players. I think that guys are cutting down on their mistakes. I think that's the key to any team that's playing well this time of year. They're cutting down on their mistakes, and they see their mistakes on film. They realize what they're doing, and you know, it's right now. I think Wayne Blackshear, you know, never gets the credit he deserves. You know, he's had a very good year, practice as well as games. You know, and Mango, if you pick up a stat sheet and you say, this guy can't play, and if you see him miss a layup, you know, oh my God, how could he miss a layup? But what you don't see is all the things he does to help a basketball team win. Because everybody can't score. You know, everybody, if he tries to score, then he takes away shots from Terry Rozier and Q and Wayne. And
for instance, what does he do?
he just does a lot of really good things defensively. You know, he's always in the right place, always helping the right people. He fouls hard.
So his 18-foot jumper is not going to be every game?
It's better than the layup, actually.
We had heard that Richard spoke to your team before the second round game.
Yep.
Can you give us the cliff notes?
He just was very, he spoke more about body language and about little things. And what he was saying basically is, I think I would cut off my right arm to be sitting where you guys are sitting right now. He said, I miss it so much. He said, you know, we have got a long way to go to get Minnesota to the level you're at right now. And I don't think you guys realize what you have. And I think that comes with success. I think that when you're in 3 Sweet 16s, a Final Four championship, you know, you think it's normal to be in that situation when it's not. And he was just telling them that you better understand where you're at, and everything you should be on. He did a very good job. He blasted him a little bit, but he did a very good job.
Did you note there was a play where Wayne went kind of careening into the crowd and a bunch of his teammates ran after him? That honestly has not happened a whole lot this year.
Well, Richard talked to him. He addressed that.
So it sounds like they responded.
Very well. And what he spoke about was not about basketball X's and O's. He spoke about little things like that. And he said that's not going to make the difference in you winning and losing. That's going to bring you closer together.
Why do you think Wayne hadn't gotten the
Because I think it's the clinical morons that call into these shows.
I mean, seriously, It's not all those people, I don't think, is it? Or-
No, well, it's not people like you, so.
No, thank you.
So who is, well, look, there's going to be, right now, what's President Obama's approval rating? Is it below?
6 or 7 or 8.
Okay, so there's 53% of this country that doesn't like the job he's doing, right? So right now, there's people going to call into your show, whatever you guys have shows, whatever you have, and they're going to, 50% are going to call in and say, Wayne's no good, or the reason they're winning now is because Chris Jones is not here, okay? So you immediately can't wait to get that guy off the phone, and then somebody's going to call up with some intelligence statements, and you're going to like having a conversation with that person. So, 50% are going to make smart comments. The other 50% are going to make, it's the same thing on television, same thing. Everybody likes to listen to a good debate, good conversation. But then you're going to get the people in that the reason they're calling so much is they don't have a job. Okay, let's face it, they don't have employment. I'm sorry?
Remember Lee Healy?
Yeah.
Complaining
Yeah.
about all the Cubs things, showing up during the day because they didn't get a job.
Yeah, well, there's a reason, really. That's where the 6% unemployment rate roam every day is you don't have too much time. And for those of us who, have families and have friends and have a life, we're not going to do that.
We can put you on the spot for one other thing. Who was your coach of the year?
Did I vote for one?
I don't know. I don't think so.
I don't think I
At least
voted.
don't.
Who would I vote
Who
for?
would you vote?
I think John Calipari's done a brilliant job, so I'd put him at the top. Now, the regular season coach of the year, there are so many guys you could put, but I think I'd give it to John. Now, at the postseason type thing, you can go to anybody, and now you'll see who shakes out and who. But I think so many guys have done a great job. I think the UCLA guy held it together and has done a great job. Obviously, the Wichita State coach did another great job. Tony Bennett and Jay Wright, who I just mentioned, who are out, did a great job. There's so many guys. Roy Williams has kept his team together, playing good basketball. Bob Huggins has done a fabulous job with West Virginia. There's so many guys, but I think that when you're undefeated and nobody's beaten you, it's clear cut who the coach of the year is right now.
Did it surprise you to learn that Mike Krzyzewski, Jim Calhoun, yourself, Denny Crum, and Billy Donovan have never won that award?
National Coach of the Year?
USBWA.
I don't even know what coach of the year I've ever won. I've won some, but I don't know what the ones are. And to tell you the truth, I don't think coaches pay too much attention to that. But it's the respect that they get from their other coaches that's important. I don't know who picks to win, you say, or who doesn't. But
Basketball writers.
the basketball rights. What the hell's wrong with you?
It's I think the writers generally, and the coaches are generally pretty much in sync, right? The coaches.
Listen, the writers have been overly kind to me throughout my 40 years, so I've got no complaints. And if we could just get to the Elite Eight and then get on to one more game, that's all we need here. It's.
We've talked a lot about the ACC this year and having 5 teams in. Obviously, the one that didn't make it is the regular season champion, but just having 5 teams and how that has prepared you guys.
Well, I think the one thing you saw in all of this is some people said the ACC was very strong at the top, but not only very strong at the top, but everybody said that you could see multiple teams in the Sweet 16, you could see multiple teams in the Elite Eight and Final Four with the ACC. The teams are very strong at the top, and I think right now you could see that any of us could make a Final Four. Any of us could. And obviously, one of us is going to make the Elite Eight. And between, NC State and us.
What do you think about NC State? Cat Barber, is his quickness and penetration, is that what makes him?
He's a great defender, probably draws the offensive foul as well as any player in basketball on the ball. He's great, he has great speed, great hands. He knows how to play the game. He's very intelligent. He's improved his jump shot.
Can you clarify at all what happened with him here?
I cannot. It's just, it's not a big deal. We just went in a different direction, which happens in recruiting. It's not anything major.
Anything else?
See you guys in Syracuse, New York,
New for all.
birthplace of my oldest son.
We have our,
My wife hasn't been back there since he was born. She's going back.